charge of the Charles F. Cummings, New Jersey Information Center. Tonight, we are delighted to have with us Lorraine Lombardi, who is with NJ Be Smart, a group dedicated to making guns less dangerous for children. A shocking statistic, at least it was shocking to me, is that guns are now the leading cause of death for children in the United States. More than 1,800 children in this country are killed with guns every year. Be Smart is a program that helps people learn how to safely store their guns so that they are kept out of the hands of kids. Lorraine will be talking more about this and about what the acronym SMART stands for, among other things. We ask that everyone keep their cameras and microphones off during the presentation. If you have any questions, type them in the chat box. Lorraine will get to as many as possible after her talk. And now, here is Lorraine Lombardi. Lorraine?
Oh, hi there, everybody. Thank you for having me. If you give me a minute, I'm going to share my screen. And if you can make sure that you're on mute, that helps. And I will answer questions at the end of the presentation. A little bit about me. I joined Moms Demand Action and Be Smart shortly after Sandy Hook, which sadly was 10 years ago yesterday. And I became an active volunteer in 2017 after I retired. And I always let people know I'm not a mom. We don't have children, but we have many nieces and nephews, and now great nieces and great nephews. And they're the reason that I do this. And my background is in education. So working with a public education program seemed like a really good fit. Now, Be Smart was developed by Everytown for Gun Safety to bring together parents and all adults concerned about kids' guns and safety. Now, during this presentation, I'm going to be mentioning handouts on the topics that I'm going to be talking about, and they can all be downloaded from our website called besmartforkids.org, and they can be downloaded in English and in Spanish. Now, I do want you to know that I will be talking about the effects of gun violence on our children. There are no pictures, but I will talk about real life stories and statistics that can be upsetting. So if anyone listening here tonight has experienced trauma from gun violence or from the topic of gun violence, please feel free to take yourself off camera. And if you can, please join us. First off, what we're going to do is look at this video from Aaron Donald of the LA Rams.
When it comes to keeping kids safe, we're all on the same team. As adults, it's our responsibility to keep kids out of harm's way. Part of that is preventing them from getting their hands on guns. Every year, hundreds of kids and young people die because they get a hold of guns. So many of these tragedies, suicides, unintentional shootings, even school shootings could be prevented. What can you do about it? It's simple. If you own a gun, lock it up and encourage gun owners you know to do the same. Look, owning a gun is your right, but it's our responsibility to protect our kids and our communities. So please do your part. Be safe, be smart. We're in this together. Learn more about secure storage at besmartforkids.org.
Okay, so those of you who are here, I'm really grateful that you're taking the time out to listen to our life-saving message of secure storage. Be Smart is a nonpartisan organization. We're neutral on the ownership of guns. Our sole focus is on secure firearm storage. So I think we can all agree on these three things. We all want kids to grow up happy and healthy. We each have the right to make responsible decisions about how to protect our homes, families, and communities. And that includes whether or not to have a gun in your home. And if we can prevent even one child gun death or injury, then it's our responsibility to do so. Now, as Tom just said, firearms are the leading cause of death for children in the United States. And that is just a heartbreaking statistic. It's not motor vehicle accidents. It's not childhood cancer. It's not suffocation. our children are dying from bullets from a gun. And it's a major national public health issue or crisis. More than 1,800 children under the age of 18 are killed with guns every year. That's an average of 5 children every single day. When kids are killed with guns, the majority of those deaths, 54%, are homicides. Additionally, nearly 700 children die by firearm suicide each year. When I first learned that, I was appalled. I didn't realize that. And 100 are unintentionally shot and killed. This is a devastating issue for everyone involved. And we're here today to talk about how we can prevent tragedies like these from happening in the first place. Now, I just want to show you some New Jersey statistics for gun deaths for children. In New Jersey, guns are the 3rd leading cause of death. That's an average of 36 children and teens who die by gun every year in our state. 15% of these deaths are suicides, which is below the national average of 35%. And 81% of all child gun deaths are homicides, which is much higher than the national rate of 60%. It's shocking to know that 4.6 million children in the US live in a household with at least one loaded, unlocked gun. And together we can prevent your child from being one of them. Now, school shootings and mass shootings, they typically make national headlines. But almost all child unintentional shooting deaths, they occur in the home. And as of November 19th of this year, there have been 275 unintentional shootings by children, which have resulted in 125 deaths and 161 injuries. And the Secret Service found that 3/4 of school shooters acquired their firearm from the home of a parent or a close relative. As of November 4th of this year, there have been 152 incidents of shootings on school grounds, which have resulted in 50 deaths and 122 injuries. So you can see that school safety really begins at home. Now, we believe that most gun owners want to be responsible gun owners. So we're going to talk today about what all of us can do, gun owners and non-gun owners alike, to make sure that children and teens don't have unsupervised access to guns. Now, unfortunately, this is an American problem. And on this slide and the next one are a few headlines from across the country about child gun violence, although we know that many incidents go unreported. But behind each headline are real lives that have been impacted. In the upper left, remember last year around this time, a 15-year-old Oxford High School student in Michigan shot and killed 4 students and wounded several others. He was armed with a handgun recently purchased by his dad. In the upper right, in July of this year, a 3-year-old Pennsylvania boy shot himself with an unsecured loaded gun that he accessed when he was left alone in a car, and that child died. In the lower left, this article talks about an incident at a South Carolina elementary school in May of this year. A loaded handgun was found in the backpack of a 7-year-old student. And the last one on the lower right, it's about 2 teenage boys who were hospitalized in August after being shot in what investigators believe to be a murder-suicide attempt in Texas. Now, here are some headlines from New Jersey. It's an American problem and it's a New Jersey problem. In the upper left, a 13-year-old was critically injured after shooting herself in the head. The incident is still under investigation. In the upper right, a man was charged in the death of a Trenton 9-year-old who was shot while she was playing in a courtyard near her home. In the lower left, a 20-year-old was arrested and charged with murder in a fatal shooting of an 18-year-old Maplewood student. And in the lower right, an 8-year-old died after shooting herself after accessing an unsecured gun at home. 3 adults have been charged on numerous accounts. Now, all of these stories show the consequences that can happen when young people get their hands on unsecured guns. Remember that before a child gets hold of an unsecured loaded gun, an adult has left it where the child can easily access it. No story is quite the same, but they're all tragic and they're all preventable. So if you own a gun, please just lock it up. So what can we all do right now? Gun owners and non-gun owners alike can all take action in their homes and in their communities to keep all kids safe. We need to do much better, as you can see from these statistics and these headlines. And together we can learn to be smart by learning these 5 steps that could save a life. And each one of the letters in the word SMART stands for one of our steps. And I'm going to go through these now. The first one, the S, secure guns in homes and vehicles. 13 million US households with children contain at least one gun. And the majority of children in those gun-owning households, they actually know where the gun is stored. So what do we mean by securing guns? A gun should always be stored securely, which means that they're inaccessible to kids. We want to make sure that children are never in the presence of unsecured guns. And hiding a gun is not securing a gun. If you own a gun, you may think you have it stored in a great hiding spot. But as we all know, children can find just about anything and they hear everything. So they know where the gun is stored. Now, you may have questions about what secure storage looks like in practice. On this slide and the next one are examples of storage options. Now, contrary to popular belief, locking up guns doesn't prevent owners from readily accessing their guns. There's a common myth that storage devices negate the self-defense purpose of owning a gun by putting time-consuming barriers between the gun owner and their means of defense. The reality is that there are many affordable options for secure gun storage that provide owners with access to guns in a matter of seconds, while still preventing access by children and people at increased risk of harming themselves or others. And we have on our website, we have information on all these different kinds of storage options that are available. And something to consider, unsecured guns may actually increase the likelihood of crime and violence through increased risk of gun theft. So secure storage not only reduces the risk of firearm suicide and unintentional firearm injury, it can also prevent firearm theft and burglary. And at least 2 guns are stolen in this country every 15 minutes. So remember, more than half of stolen guns are stolen from cars. In New Jersey, we have to have it locked up. So that's not as much of a problem as it is in other states. Now, on this next slide, these are some other options that you can use to store your gun. And on the right, that's a simple cable lock. And you can get those on Amazon under $10. And that can save the life of a child or someone else in your home. Now, another option for gun storage is Big Waves, which is a nonprofit that was started by the parents of a young boy who was shot and killed in a road rage incident. His mother and a sibling and a bystander were injured, but this young boy was killed. And the mission is to get a cable lock that I just showed you on the other slide into every home in the United States. You can scan this Q code here. A form will come up, you can fill it out, and they will send a cable lock directly to your home. That brings us to the M, model responsible behavior. Every law-abiding adult has the right to decide whether or not to have a gun in their home. But you can't rely on curious kids not to find a gun. So modeling responsible behavior means that as a smart adult, you make sure the kids don't have the opportunity to access guns. Like I said, kids know where their parents store their guns, and more than a third reported handling their parents' guns. And nearly a quarter of the parents didn't know that their children had handled the gun. So again, it's always an adult's responsibility to prevent unauthorized access to guns, not a curious child's responsibility to avoid guns. And you want to talk to your kids about gun safety. But remember, it's a precaution. It's not a guarantee. One study found that young children who go through a week-long safety training program are just as likely as children with no training to approach or play with a handgun when they find one. So just keep it simple. Tell them, your children, that if they ever see a gun, don't touch it. It could be real or it could be pretend. Walk away and tell an adult. You want to make talking about guns and gun safety part of other conversations that you have with your kids about other topics, drugs and alcohol, talking to strangers. Add gun safety to that. And again, we have a handout on our website for this. Now, this now takes us to the A, ask. We want to make asking about unsecured guns in other homes as normal and as natural as asking about any other safety issue. Now, I mentioned that there are 4.6 million US children living in a household with at least one loaded unlocked gun. So you want to ask about the presence of unlocked guns in other homes. So if your child was allergic to peanuts, you probably wouldn't send your child to another home without asking about whether or not that peanut butter was in the house. Or if your child was allergic to a cat, do they have animals? So we want you to remember to ask about the presence of guns in other homes. And don't wait until your child goes to another home to ask about guns. Volunteer information about your own home first. But remember, it's not about the gun, it's about whether they're stored safely. Now, it can be really awkward at first asking people this. So what you can do is to make it part of your general safety conversation by email or text. Remember, it may not be your gun or your home, but it could be your child who is injured or is killed. Now, this is a sample of a text. A woman mentioned that she went to a presentation like the one I'm doing tonight, where she learned about the importance of secure gun storage. She never thought to ask before, but she asked the person, do you have a gun at home? I assume that you just don't. And the other parent answered, well, they do have a gun, but she assured her that it was locked in a safe and the kids will never see it or find it. And the more you do that, it's like a ball rolling. You do it, then somebody else will do it, and somebody else will do it. And that's the really important thing. Now, this takes us to the R, recognize the role of guns in suicide. Now, access to a gun can mean the difference between life and death. As your children get older, you may need to consider taking another look at your storage options. If you've been using a simple cable lock, you may want to think about getting a gun safe. We all know how curious children can be, so as your children get older and more resourceful, you need to act accordingly. And also, if you know that a loved one is in distress, you may want to consider temporarily removing a gun from your home. And you ask, well, why would I want to do that? It's important to consider that firearm suicide is uniquely lethal. 90% of suicide attempts using a gun end in death, a much higher fatality rate than any other means of self-harm. Half of all suicides in the US are gun suicides, and 70% of people who survive a suicide attempt will never attempt a suicide again. And some more staggering statistics about children. 41% of child suicides involve a gun. So you want to make sure that you secure that gun or just get it out of the house if you know your child or someone else in your home is in distress. Now, if you consider temporarily removing a gun from your home, how can you do that? Well, some local law enforcement may be willing to temporarily store your gun, but you want to call ahead. There are some licensed gun dealers or gun ranges who may be willing to temporarily store your gun. Or you could temporarily store your gun in the home of a friend or family. But if you do that, you want to manage the risk for your family member or your friend by locking the gun before you give it to them. Now, another option is for temporary firearm storage. The New Jersey State Firearm Storage Map was developed by the Rutgers Gun Violence Research Center to help community members seeking local options for temporary voluntary storage. Now, the businesses listed on this map, they're willing to consider requests for temporary voluntary firearm storage. And again, you can scan this Q code here and it will take you right to this information, and you can find some place near you where you could store your gun if you feel the need to do that. Now, whoops, hold on. We're talking about this because, as you can see in this graph, over the last decade, young people have the fastest growing firearm suicide rate of any age group. I find this staggering. The National Youth Survey conducted by the CDC showed that 20% of high school students had seriously considered attempting suicide within the last year. And one study showed that 41% of adolescents in gun-owning households report having easy access to the guns in their home. Now, research shows that secure firearm storage is associated with a decreased risk of child firearm suicide. And with these increases in child suicide, it's critically important that we break the silence around suicide. Now, here are some signs that you can look out for if you're concerned that a loved one may be suicidal. And I'll stop for just a minute so that you can read that. Now, we have a handout on our website with much more information about how to get help if you recognize these or other warning signs in your children or anyone else in your household. Now, just this summer, the new National 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline was activated. You have free and confidential support to people in suicidal or emotional distress. And you can talk, you can text, or you can chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with 988. These are some other additional resources. The National Suicide Prevention Line, which is also what the 988 is. You can call if you don't want to text. Or the Trevor Lifeline Project is for youth suicide prevention for LGBTQIA+. And you can text HOME to 741-741 from anywhere in the United States, anytime, about any type of crisis. So there is help out there. Now, additionally, if you're a survivor of gun violence, we can connect you to the Everytown Survivor Network. This is a wonderful organization. It's a nationwide community of survivors who work together to end gun violence. It connects suicide survivors to each other, amplifies the power of survivor voices, and offers trauma-informed programs, provides information on direct services, and supports survivors who choose to become advocates. And again, you can just scan this Q code and it will take you to the website and you can read more about it. Now that takes us to our final letter, the T. Tell everyone you know to be smart. We need your voice and everybody's voices to spread this message. So, how will you commit to be smart today? You can help save lives by spreading awareness of the importance of secure storage by sharing our message. The first step to saving a life can be in your living room, on your front porch, or in line at a grocery store by telling people what you learned here tonight. So take a few minutes right now to think about who you're going to tell to be smart. You go ahead and text a few friends right now, or think of 3 organizations that you think should hear this message. Now you can also join our Be Smart volunteer team here in New Jersey, and I'll show you how to do that in the next slide or two. Now, this is how we tell the Be Smart message and spread the message here in Essex County. We do tabling for all different kinds of community events. We give this presentation to PTAs, in churches, in the for Rotary clubs, wherever anybody would want us. We have a partnership now with the state police. That's me here with Colonel Pat Callahan. He is the superintendent of the New Jersey State Police. And this summer, he put all of our Be Smart information on his website, on all of their social media accounts, and forwarded to all law enforcement in the state. And as a result of that, other police departments in the state have posted our information. And we also do public service announcements to get our message across. And we have partnered with a lot of community groups. As I said, the state police, the Department of Education here in New Jersey, they posted our information. The American Academy of Pediatrics has done the same thing. The Journal of the American Medical Association. We partner with Injury Free Coalition for Kids to get our information out there every November. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention this summer put our information out on their webpage. The NJEA supports us, and one of our volunteers presented at their conference, and the National PTA also partners with us. So how can you get involved in Essex County? You could join our Be Smart team, and to do that, just email me at njbsmart@gmail.com. You could schedule a Be Smart presentation like the one I just gave for your church, your PTA, a civic organization, any organization that you think might want to hear this message. Or you could host a presentation in your own home for your family and friends. And some of the best presentations that I've done for families and friends, either over Zoom or in their own home. So again, email me at njbsmart@gmail.com. And I just want to thank you for spending time with me tonight to hear this message. And as Aaron Donald said, if you own a gun, just lock it up. We're in this together. Everybody has to do their part. So be safe and be smart. And I have a source page. If anybody is interested in where all of our statistics came from, I can get this to you. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing and see if anybody has any questions at all.
Well, I do. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Lorraine. It was a terrific presentation.
Thank you.
So now you said during your presentation that you do avoid kind of getting involved in kind of gun control issues, right? Because that you're dealing with that. Your focus is mainly on appealing to people who own guns but keeping them safe, or just without dealing with any other issues. Do you ever get approached by other groups that want you to take a public stand on some issue that I know these issues can be contentious right now? Do you ever get approached by groups who want you to help them advocate for a certain point of view?
A certain point of view as far as guns go?
In
or
terms,
laws and
of
policy?
gun control issues, yeah.
Okay, well, we are part of Every Town for Gun Safety, and we're a nonprofit public education part of that organization. And all we talk about is secure storage. Moms Demand Action is also part of Every Town for Gun Safety, and they lobby for good gun laws and against bad gun laws. So we're separate organizations. We just specifically talk about safe storage to prevent injuries and death. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about the size of the organization, Be Smart? I know you're in New Jersey, Be Smart. Is it in 50 states? Is it?
Yes, Be Smart. It's a national organization. And again, it was started by Every Town for Gun Safety. When it became obvious that children were accessing guns and hurting themselves or killing themselves or someone else. And it was developed as a way to help prevent that and getting the message out there. So we have been around since 2015. We're national. We have chapters in every state in the country. We do amazing work. One of our big push now is to get schools to send our secure storage information home to parents. Because as I said, most 75% of the school shooters obtained their gun from their home or the home of someone else. So school safety really does start in the home by making sure that guns are secured. And who better to get a message out to parents than our schools? So we have worked in New Jersey and across the country to get schools to either, there are different ways that they can do it. They can sign a resolution that says that they're going to work towards, that they're going to work with other organizations in their community to keep children safe. They can put a link to our website on their school website, which a lot of schools have done. So there's different ways that we can get this going, but that's a big push that we're doing right now. I think there's close to like 2.5 million students now in the country who live in school districts where safe storage information has been sent home.
Do you know of any stories, and you might not, but do you know of any stories of like people who haven't actually been to one of your events or taken part in one of these Zoom calls, and then what they learned here actually saved a life? Do you know of any specific incidents like where that happened? I think maybe somebody, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the New Jersey Be Smart group, if there's another Be Smart group around the country. Because it seems like a good idea, because people don't always necessarily know how to keep guns secure, and some of the information you provided would be really helpful to people. I'm wondering if you were ever contacted, or somebody in Be Smart was ever contacted to let them know that, oh yeah, I went home after I went to your program and I made sure my gun was secured and I bought this box for it and everything. And I don't know, you might not have, there might not be any way to really come up with a concrete answer to this question. I just wonder if you'd heard any stories.
Well, what I can, no, I have not heard specifically, but what I can tell you is when we table, or even when we do this presentation, many people will say, oh, I don't have a gun. I don't need to know about this. And we will always say, well, what about your neighbor? What about your family members? Do they have a gun? and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
Particularly people with kids. Yeah,
Yeah,
who go
exactly,
visit their
yeah.
friends' houses and everything. Yeah. you should know.
Exactly, like
Yeah,
this summer,
yeah.
we tabled for National Night Out. And I have a biometric safe that you just put your, you program it and you can put your gun in it and close it, and then you just hit a pad and boom, it opens up and you can have access to your gun. And people were amazed that that existed. And people were like, oh my God, I really want it. I need to get one of those because for whatever reason, their gun wasn't secured. So what I can say is people will say over and over again, it's like, I never thought of that. This is terrific. This is great. Oh, can I have a couple of your cards so that I can give it to people and tell people about it?
Yeah.
So in that respect, before we got on this call, I was telling you how we had tabled at a local coffee shop, and we were talking to a woman, and she says, oh, I need to send this to my sister. She lives in Ohio, and Ohio, luckily in New Jersey, we have a lot of gun sense, and in Ohio they don't. And she's like, I need to send this to her. So that kind of thing.
Yeah. So likely some lives have been saved by what
Yes.
people have learned at your programs. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, because
Yeah.
we've gotten the message out there all across the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you were also involved in an exhibit that's now on display at the Newark Public Library, Souls Shot. Can you talk a little bit about that exhibit? By the way, Souls Shot is on view until the end of the month, until December 31st at Newark Public Library. Then it will be moving somewhere else in January. But can you talk a little bit about that exhibit?
Yeah, the Soul Shot Portrait Project was started by a woman who is an artist who wanted to do something to have an impact on try to prevent gun violence. And because she's an artist, she thought the best way for her to express herself was through her art. So long story short, she found some other artists who would be willing to do portraits of people who were victims of gun violence. And she connected an artist with a family member or a survivor and spoke to the survivor of the person who was killed and talked to her a few times. And then based on that conversation, they came up and the artist made a beautiful portrait of the person who was taken through gun violence. And it's a very moving, beautiful tribute to these people who we've lost to gun violence. And I'm not sure. I think there are 4 different traveling exhibits now. And I think the next one, there's going to be one in Philadelphia, but it's a terrific way to honor the lives of people who have been taken through gun violence.
Yeah, there's some lovely portraits on the wall at the library on the first floor.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Okay, well, thank you, Lorraine. That was terrific. And thank you, everyone else who took part tonight. I just wanted to, and thank you for spending your time with us. I encourage everyone to visit the Souls Shot exhibit, which is on display in the main library, as I said, of the Newark Public Library until December 31st. It is a moving tribute by the loved ones of those lost to gun violence. Good night, everyone.
Good
Be
night.
safe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye.